No justice, no peace, no racist police.
So I said that when we come out today, we have power.
Yes.
And we need to be in the thousands, in the millions, and we will be. Because it starts right here.
Guilty. The truth never dies. The truth never dies. Come on.
Welcome to a special episode of Naptown People's Radio. This is your host, Derek Ford, here, unfortunately, without my co-host, Danny Abdullah, who is sorely missed, but we're honored to be joined by Matthew Gunning and Vernon T. Bateman. Matthew spent 5.5 years falsely incarcerated, and during that time, he was imprisoned with another wrongfully incarcerated inmate, Vernon T. Bateman, and after several years, they were reunited by happenstance, and this was just really a matter of weeks ago. So we're honored to have them both on the show today in what is probably their second or third conversation post-reunification, and neither of them really thought that they would ever see the other one again, so it's a real honor to have them both on the show. Welcome to Naptown People's Radio, Matthew and Vernon.
Thank you.
What's happening? Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So, I wanted to kick off this conversation, and it will be a conversation because I believe that, you two only recently reunited. But I did want to, for our listeners who weren't able to listen in before, if you could tell us when you met, where you met, how you met, your first impressions of each other, anything like that.
You want to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll start. I met Matt. I can't too much remember, but when I met Gunny, he to himself, and I remember seeing him, and he was painting a woman under. He was drawing a woman under a light pole. That was while it was raining. And she was I think she had her head back or something. But he drew he had probably 500 of the same type of art pictures or whatever. And I'm like, man, you gotta do something different, I keep saying it, but he's getting it, and I'm nailing it, and he going crazy with it. And I just observed him and checked him out and saw how he moved. And then I saw how he conduct himself and how he carry himself and how he was by himself, you know what I'm saying? And I peeped it out. And in prison, you really don't ask nobody what they locked up for, But we got the politicking and we got the talking and communicating, and it just came out because it was like therapy. Even I just talked to one of my friends today, it was like therapy for him, therapeutic for him. He said my friend Larry, whatever, he said when he lost his wife passed away. It's for a long time, every time he met a person, he let them know I lost my wife, But it got better and better as he was talking and being therapeutic about their story and the struggle and the situation. But it's a lot of people in prison that say they're innocent, but it's people that some things you can't even cover up. It's some things you can't hide. It's some that's inside you that you can feel it's a connection, and that's what I felt with my bro Matt.
Right on. I'll be honest. When I first met Vern, it was in the 4 or more dorm, and he had just got there. And to be honest with you, I was intimidated by him, just because of the way he carried himself and his kind of stature and his demeanor. I thought this is probably somebody I should, give space to. Because I hadn't had a chance to talk to him or get to know him. And I believe that the fact that I was doing art and that he was interested in that and looked at it was how we started an initial conversation. And I realized that the prejudgment I had of what kind of person I thought he may or may not be went away very quickly once we started having a conversation. And I was just like, this is just another guy just like me. And, in prison, there's a lot of masking who you really are, and you put on kind of this front or persona. And it didn't seem that. I think what was most intimidating about Vernon was his confidence and his authenticity, that he didn't have that kind of a mask, or it didn't come across to me like he was trying to be something that he wasn't, because he was so comfortable with who he was. I think that was the most intimidating factor, because I didn't know if he would, quite frankly, I didn't know if he would like me. And even scarier, I didn't know if he would believe me. And I just felt compelled to share my story with him and take the chance. I didn't know what was going to happen. And, we just found that we had a lot in common, with our stories. And, his prison experience had been so long at that point, and I was so brand new. It was just it was not a typical relation. It's almost like an odd couple relationship at first, like someone who had a lot of experience in the system was someone who was brand new that obviously didn't belong there. It was obvious to me I didn't belong there, and I knew I stuck out like a sore thumb, which is why I kind of tried to keep to myself. But I realized that the art, now looking back, is how I made pretty much every connection that I had. But there was just something about Vern where I just felt like he believed me and instantly believed in me, and he instantly felt like an old friend, like we had, met before maybe. And I can't explain it. And then it just kind of grew from there, and we just moved forward.
Yeah. And let me ask you real quick, Vern, because Gunny just said that he stuck out like a sore thumb. That's why he kept it to himself. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but you could tell like he ain't had like, it's like it's people that's still in prison and still got like criminal mind. You could tell even his conversation went on, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like I was just talking like earlier, like most people glorify the bad that they do, even to people in prison, So you could tell like this a man that have no war stories, you know what I'm saying? Like, and gratefully don't have no war stories, you know what I'm saying? And in that time or place in my mind, I was like reaching that level of trying to be that person,
That's interesting.
Respectfully, with no war stories, you know what I'm saying? Without having to be being strategic to survive, you know what I'm saying? Not having to have your hands dirty to survive. Like I could tell that he was like had that type of like innocence to him, you know what I'm saying?
So while he was intimidated by you, you actually saw something in him that you were trying to accomplish, or trying to be in your own way. Yeah,
in the mindset, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that, like, see, people say they men and they ain't taking care of responsibilities. I knew you know how you could tell, like, when people come in prison, it transforms if you ain't grew up in prison. Mm-hmm. If you grew up in prison, you probably sending money to your family. If you ain't grew up in prison, you probably get money from your family, you know what I'm saying? So it's different like that, and I knew, like, so it's just those steps of being enlightened by his journey and looking in his eyes and seeing his demeanor, how he carry himself, and how, you know what I'm saying, he was like, he was in his own world, but in the own world of peace,
Yeah, you know what? Sorry to interrupt. You know what's crazy is, so as we moved through and just like we were guys that knew each other, we were friends, we interacted a lot. From my perspective, I don't know if you know this or not, but like a lot of people were like, man, like Vern is your friend, like you're friends with Vern, like Vern messes with you. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, that meant something, for whatever reason, that meant something to them because of, unfortunately, the amount of time that you've been in prison. They looked at you a certain way, like, you were this high stature, you were in the upper echelon of the hierarchy just because of the amount of time you've been in prison and things like that. And for whatever other reasons, I think a lot of people were surprised that had that type of experience, that Vern and I were friends. And to be honest with you, I feel like a lot of people kind of didn't mess with me, like unspoken, like because they were like, leave him alone because he's friends with Vern. And the thing is, like, I don't look at Vern that way. Vern is not a dangerous person. Vern, like any other person, can be dangerous if you threaten him or you threaten his life or you try to mess with his people or anything. That's just a human thing. But on a daily basis, Vern is not a dangerous person. He's not a mean person. Like, he's just filled with kindness and love and generosity. And I'm not sure what these other people thought of him or why they thought the things that they thought, but I definitely benefited from it because, I think that they were afraid, quite frankly, if they did anything to me or mess with me, that they would have to answer to Vern. And I don't even know exactly what that means, but I think that they thought that. Mm-hmm. And it was said out loud to me from people without him being around, that's basically the way it was, whether he realized that or not. And so, like I said, there's a lot of things that I need to thank Vern for. And I think a lot of the things that he did to help me in prison were intentional. And I think a lot of them were unintentional. And maybe he was oblivious to them of how they helped me. But a key part of the level of survival that I had being the person I was in prison is the fact that I had a relationship with Vern. And I'm so thankful today for that because I feel like I'm sitting here because of that. You know what I mean? And that's why I was touching on, like, the last time we talked, Derek, about how I didn't know. I felt like that friendship was more authentic than any friendship I had in there. And I also thought that it ended when I went home because I really felt like I would never see him again. And if I ever saw him again, would he treat me the same? Would we still be friends? Would we still have that connection? Would I still be able to relate? Would we be able to relate to each other on all the other levels except for prison, on all the other human levels? And the great thing about it is now that I'm reconnected with him, I have the answer to those things, and it's yes for me.
Yeah,
I don't know how Vern feels about it.
No doubt, man. You my man, man. You good dude.
Yeah. I mean, knowing Vernon, I'm not surprised by that. I'm glad you got that answer. And I still, after I learned about how you two had met, reconnected at Sam's Square Pie.
Yeah.
I went and the next day I went and got myself a Sam's Square Pie. And I was hoping to meet the owner, but he wasn't there. His girlfriend was, because I saw Vern's an advertisement for Art for Exoneration, the Vernon T. Bateman Experience, July 21st through August 2nd at Gallery 42, which you're going to be a part of the opening night, I know, Matt, on July 21st.
Correct.
And anyways, she was like, oh, I asked if she knew Vernon. She said, yeah. And she said, I had goosebumps, when all that happened. So it's quite an honor to be here with you too. I can't imagine what it's like for you two to be, reconnected under these circumstances.
It's surreal. It's surreal for me.
Yeah.
And
that you're building together. Like, one of the things that I think about, friends are people who build each other up and, push each other. So, sometimes too much, right? Sometimes not enough or whatever. But there's a philosopher named Spinoza, and his definition of love is basically love is anything that expands your capacity to act in the world, right? So to me, that makes sense. So for example, like an unhealthy relationship, right, is one where your world gets smaller because you're not able to act as much, like somebody who tries to confine you. And a loving relationship is one that opens you up to the world, right? And where you can act in new ways, right? And so it's, to me, it's a sign of because, friendship, it's a form of love, right? It's a non-romantic form of love. And the fact that you are, providing each other opportunities to basically act in the world, get the story out there, get Vern's story out there. Vern, you're helping Gunny get his artwork out there at the show. And so, I don't know, I'm just reminded of that.
The artists,
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's good. That's what it's about. We were just talking about the bridge. We were just talking about like levels of the bridge that need to be buried, that need to be brought to life, that a lot of people buried, or a lot of people burnt. And like you used to hear back in the day, a person say, "Don't burn your bridge." You know what I'm saying? Because you never know when you go cross it again, or who you get cross, or who need to be crossed. And what Gunning was telling me earlier, like the bridge is already there. It just people don't use it. Between the diversity of even skin colors. It's like people like black and white. When you're dealing with something that's like a universal language, such as art or music or, these things that you can't deny, this a universal language. So something might touch you in a way that touch you. If we hear a song for the first time and it's the song that just been, you only go relate to the lyrics that's go fit in your life, and I probably never heard and I'm like, damn, they just said that. But I heard something that fit in my life, So with the art and the logistics and the bridge, that's what we crossed over to, like stand on that bridge to get our story out. You never know who may need a bridge at the time that's listening to this, then it can affect,
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said something about the love thing, and I feel like where the friendship between Vern and I is the number one, really the only component to a true friendship is truth. And there's nothing more kind that you can do to someone if you're a friend or in a relationship with them in any way. There's nothing that's more kind than telling them the truth. And so I never lied to Vern since the day I met him about anything. And I felt of everyone that I met that there was nothing that Vern lied to me about or intentionally tried to hurt me in any way. And that's the kindest thing that you can do for somebody. And I think that's why this relationship is so genuine, is because neither one of us had an ulterior motive. There was no angle to it. I was pretty self-proficient because, like you said, I had people sending me money, and I had money, and I had a job. I didn't need anything from Vern except for the truth. There was no exploitation. There was no angle. I wasn't using him for anything other than someone who would be truthful. And the only thing that I could do for him in that environment was to reciprocate and give him the truth. And so I think that was the most valuable commodity that you have in a place like a prison, is the truth. And if someone will accept it, that's everything. I don't know if Vern would agree with that, but I think that's the thing.
Yeah, in prison, it's like out here, credit is more valuable than money, but in prison, your word is money. And your word is your credit. Your word is your money. So if I say I'm gonna do something and I ain't done it, I probably died trying to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, your word gotta be what it means.
Vern, I have a question for you. Did any of your other friends ever question why you were friends with me or why we had a friendship or connection? Did you ever get that from anybody?
Nah, but I know people was observing and trying to see, like, what's the angle, and like trying to see, like, because you got, people get extorted and all type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, people was trying to see, like, what's the ground, like, what's the respect level, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I respect you as a man and who you are. Then you express your fatherhood to your son and stuff like that to me, and I really took that to heart because how I was striving to do that for mine, you know what I'm saying? So I really peeped it out, and I really respect you as a man and how you conduct yourself. You wanted to know flunkery in there. You weren't chasing drugs. You weren't chasing, your own agenda in there. You weren't, what I mean? You just was focused on trying to find a way to be heard and trying to find a way to build character as a man of handling the struggle of the conditions you was in and I saw you using different sources and still smiling in there, you know what I'm saying? And so that really meant a lot to me. That's what I took from your character, you know.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. And I've had many conversations with people out here. You know, we say that a lot, like in there and out here, but out here. And I truly believe that it all comes back to character. Like that's the true measuring stick, not just for like a man, but for a human being, is character. And I definitely saw in you a level of character that I was with that. I was cool with that. And I think there was a big part of me that thought, if this guy will accept me for who I am and what I am, because I know you'll agree with this. Like I didn't try to be anything. I talk today to you the same way that we talked in there. It was, and so the thing is that in a very like selfish way, it made me like you more, that you were willing to like me and accept me. And someone who is like, we were very different, you know, in prison. And for someone, you know, in your lane to associate with me and accept me, and we didn't hide nothing. Like everyone knew that we were each other's guys, you know what I mean? And I was surprised that more people didn't make a bigger deal about it. But I think that I think there was some jealousy, you know, like, why is he messing with this dude? And then people looking at me like, what could you possibly have in common with that guy? Which is ludicrous to me for people to think like that. But you have to understand that environment is home to a lot of people who they live their life with a pattern of thinking errors. And we just kind of were able to bypass all that. And I think I'm gonna ask you this. I feel like that with me, you were allowed, you could allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to just be who you are and be genuine and authentic. And I'm guessing that through your prison stay, through the years, that you weren't able to do that with a lot of people for whatever reason, safety, for friendship, for connections, for whatever reason. And the fact that you knew that I didn't want anything from you, I think allowed you to be just who you were. And I think if anybody ever has a chance to just see Vern for who he is, will understand why everyone loves him. I mean, it's impossible if you get to meet him and you know him and you really open your heart and your mind to who he is and what he's about. It would be like not liking ice cream. You know what I mean? Like, it's just impossible. Because I admire him. I mean, I don't admire a lot of people these days, man, but I admire you. Yeah, and like I told Derek before, like we had a lot of conversations about things other than art, but it was always like, I think that the people that were paying attention were like, well, Vern and Gunning are friends because they're both artists and because they both love art and they both do art, and like, okay, so we'll use that as the thing to make sense. That was just the thing that got us introduced to each other. The connection that we had and the genuine friendship that we had wasn't because we're both artists. It was because we both genuinely liked each other. But I think that, you know, I mean, the art contest for me, you know, I told Derek this before. My whole thing was get to prison, find a corner, hide in it, make it seem like you're not there, disappear so that you can try to make it through this thing, you know, with your life. Because I honestly felt like when I was going there and for the time that I had, you know, which is nothing compared to Vern, but for the time that I had, I definitely felt like someone was going to end my life for sure. And then through art, I became probably one of the most popular people at the prison. And at one time I was asked to stop entering stuff in the art show and give other people a chance to win, you know, in the portrait category, because these church groups would donate all these outside cookies and candy and chips and everything, and you win a big bag of that if you got first, second, or third. And people are like, hey, man, give someone else a chance to get at them cookies and chips and stuff from the outside. You know what I mean? But when you have the art show and people that are distributed throughout the camp come through and they're like, well, I'm not in the housing unit with this dude, like, but this dude did this, and like, so who's that dude? So now they're trying to find out who you are based on the art, the piece of art that they saw that you did at the art show. And this person may have never met you, never seen you, never knew who you were the entire time you were incarcerated. And now they all housing units get to go to the art show. So now everyone in the whole entire camp knows your name and the level of art that you do and the type of art that you do. So you instantly become like prison famous. And that was exactly the opposite of what I wanted to do. And so a friendship with someone like Vernon was important because, I'm famous because I'm the artist guy, right? That does the art competitions. And also Vernon G's my friend. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. So
I was like, don't forget that part. You know what I mean? Because you can't get a piece of art from me, if you hit me up or anything. So, and I had a lot of, the meanest dudes there and the toughest dudes there and like the shot callers and the head of this and the head of that. They would always come to me and be like, hey, this is a picture of my mom. Can you do a painting of her? Or this is my, my cousin, or this is a person in my family that passed away. And, they weren't going to get those things from me if anything bad happened to me. And so then now that person would be known as someone who messed with me and was a friend of mine. And it just snowballed from there. And the idea of being able to go in a corner and just curl up and not be seen totally went out the window. So, had I not had people like Vern in my corner and been exposed like that, I don't know what the difference would have been, but I just know that being friends with Vern was important on many levels, but none more important on the level of mental health for me of having someone who I felt like that I could trust. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And I mean, I want to go back to the beginning where you said, the friendship started with art, but far transcended art. Because this isn't a judgment or anything like that. That makes sense to me. But I also believe that knowing you two now, that art isn't just art. Okay, let me just be straight up honest. Okay,
yeah.
When I was growing up as a kid, like if we went to New York City, or we went on vacation, my dad was always like, "Oh yeah, the art museum. Sorry, they're all closed today." Right.
Right.
I didn't know anything about art because when you're growing up, art is like if you can draw a tree that looks like that tree, you're a good artist, and I couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't until honestly, I was in my late 20s and I met my wife that I learned what art was, and I was like, that's not art, I mean, I know both of y'all can, Sarah Full, both of y'all can, I'm sure, draw a picture, draw a painting of me that looks like me, right? But that's not what art is for you too, right? I mean,
correct.
Yeah, and this goes to the theme of the grand opening for Art for Exoneration on July 21st, which I think we're calling Just Beyond the Senses, right? Because it's like art is really what we use to say what words can't say,
Well, let me tell you how right you are. So not only to say what we can't say, but more importantly, to feel what we're not used to or comfortable with feeling. And so to expand on that just a little bit and again, tell you how right you are. First of all, art is not a realism contest.
Right.
So that's that. And the reason that I believe that and that I know that that's true is because Picasso is famously quoted as saying, it took me 4 years to learn how to paint like Raphael and an entire life to learn how to paint like a child. So if you look at Picasso's earlier work, it's all realism. It all looks like Raphael. It's all very, very Renaissance looking. And if I showed you any of those paintings, you would never in a million years guess that it was a Pablo Picasso painting. However, if I show you a modern day Picasso, you would know immediately that that's who that is. And none of those are realism paintings. None of those are trees or people that would look like, people don't look like the people in his paintings. They look exactly like the paintings of his early days. So you're absolutely right that that's not what art is. Art is something that is either verbal or visual or any of these things that evoke an emotion. And that emotion could be positive, it could be negative. There's nothing worse than making a piece of art that someone can walk by and not even take a look at. Those are the type of things they hang on the wall at Waffle House or in Holiday Inn lobbies. Mm-hmm. That's not what we do. If you walk by a piece of Vern's art, you will be stopped in your tracks and you'll look at it. And no matter how long you look at it, you'll never, ever understand fully what it is or what went into it or how this artist must have been feeling or what they were thinking or why they did this piece of art. But you will wonder forever what the answers to those questions are. And that is art. And that's what Vern does. Vern is an artist in every aspect of the word. He wakes up an artist, he goes to bed an artist. That's just who he is. It's not what he does. Mm-hmm. We don't do art. Right. We are artists. And that's the way I feel about it. So I don't know if Vern feels the same way or not, but that is the essence of what I feel like art is. And the whole point of having an art show like the one that we're doing with Vern is to get those juices pumping of thinking and reacting and start understanding and asking questions and trying to get resolutions to things. And these are the art is the catalyst to almost everything. The story of religion could not be told without art. You know, that's everything. You can trace everything that's important and relevant to us as human beings starts and begins with art. So why not get Vern's story out there and Vern's journey and really Vern's goal? It all starts and ends with art, and it's the way that we get people to think about this, to talk about this, and to understand the injustice that's taken place in his life. And you know, there's going to be, unfortunately, Vern, you're going to be gone 100 years from now. And your art is going to live on for thousands and thousands of years. And, you know, they're going to be trading your art for like 20, 30, 40 million at some point. But you and I aren't going to get to see that. But you're going to get paid at some point, I promise you, while you're alive. Picasso did, and so did Dali. But this is the reason that Vern does art. It's not only is it cathartic for him and therapeutic, and it's a coping mechanism, and it's a way to get his story out there. It's all these things, but most importantly, it's to invoke emotion in other people to help engage them and get him back whole as a person to where he needs to be. And that, I believe, is what we're all talking about here. The ultimate goal is to get him whole, get him back to the guy that we all know that he is and can be, and get this huge weight off of his shoulders so he can go out there and this is the thing, man. There's people in this that have been put on this planet to make a difference in this world, and Vern is one of them, and he's being held back from that, and that's the biggest injustice here, because he's been put on this planet for a purpose, but what he's going through is not. That's not what it is, and that's not what it should have been. We've been robbed, robbed of a talent and of a human being that was put on this planet to change the world, and until that's right, the art's going to be done, the conversations are going to be had, and we're not going to stop working towards that.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Yeah, I look at art the way the Gunning look at it for sure, but he tough too. He like you hear he said people was trying to convince him not to get in the art contest. He good, bro. I promise he make you feel it. But yeah, art shouldn't have words in it. You should feel it in a different dimension. And sometimes I don't be wanting to write to my art because I don't want to steal your innocent, like your virgin view of it, you know? Because if it touch you within that manner, I've been and told you something else. But I do want you to know my perception of why I created it at the moment and what motivated me to give it to you at that time, you know? Because I'm learning from my own self if I tap into my spirit to touch the canvas. But like the piece that Gunny putting in the show, it is what it's entitled again.
Who is really in prison?
Who is really in prison? And man, that I had that scenery so much, like I can felt that so much that like I see how people commit to you while you in prison. They prison themselves. They commit to you so much that they go through the same channels, that they feeling the same. I had so many people that I really love that make those commitments, you know, and that painting that you put in the show is like touches so much. It's like so I knew it was go win when you put it in there. I remember you was telling me like, I'm about to nail this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, we was in the library in prison, and you was like, man, I'm about to nail this. You know?
Yeah, and you know, to be honest with you, like that's another example of I'm just gonna put it out there. Because I was an older white male, the staff and administration rallied around me, helped me get that entered into the competition. They helped ship it to the competition, and they were in contact with them and everything. I was not the best artist at that camp. I mean, some people might say that, but I don't believe it. And there were other people that could have done that weren't afforded the resources that I was and weren't treated like I was. So, you know, it's a conflict constantly with me of all the accolades and all the things that I got from that are diminished by the fact that other people should have been given the same opportunity, but they weren't because they didn't look like me, you know? And again, man, it's just gross, you know, the way people are treated.
Yeah. And you're right, it deprives all of us, you know, because you think about, you think about all, and this is something I think about all the time, right? Is when I talk to Vern, when I talk to you, Gunny, I just think like how much human creativity is locked away. You know, and earlier on the last show, Gunny, you said something like, you know, you were like, look, prison is a microcosm of society, you know, obviously much different, right? I mean, you know, I'm not, you know, not the same, but it's like the same things that happen there, right, are happening in the world. And so you think about how much human creativity is just like is there in people. It's just that one, we're told we're incapable of it, right? Like to be an artist, you got to have some, you know, you got to know all these statistics and facts and dates, and you got to have a degree, and you got to, you know, X, Y, Z. When in reality, you know, that's not the case. And so, like, this is something at the Liberation Center we're constantly working on is writing. And so many, like, everybody can write. You know, everybody can express themselves. It's just that, like, who's taught to write? Who's told they're good at it? You know, like, you know, who walks into a room and people are like, "Hey, that guy knows what he's talking about," just because of that prejudgment,
right?
You know,
right.
And so I think, you know, but one of the things about Vern and his art that, I mean, it still kind of like, you know, frustrates me, but especially the first couple times, man, is he'd show me like these, you know, I think the first like couple were some murals that he had at the District Theater that were hanging up for a couple months. And, you know, I was like, "Hey, man, talk to me about this. You know, what is this?" And he's like, and they were actually at the mural. They were actually hanging outside the District Theater at the time, right? I remember being there, right? And he wouldn't answer me. You know, he was like, "What do you think? What do you see? You know, what do you think?" And every time it's like that, like he's like, "Man, I'm working on this piece, you know, like I want, you know," and I see it, I'm like, you know, and I've gotten better now, but because he's actually teaching me that like I have the capacity. You see, like I was talking about growing up, I didn't think I knew anything about art, you know, but I was just told I didn't, you know, like because I was taught that art is this one thing and I got to be able to identify it, but like you know, being friends with Vern and seeing his art, when he asked me that question, he's really being like, "Derek, you're an artist. You can. What do you see in it? You know?" And you know, I'm not putting myself on the level or anything like that, but I'm just saying that like that's actually, you know, I am a teacher, and I can say that is teaching, right? What do you see in this? And that's being like, hey, you too are an artist, right? You are capable of it.
Because you could teach, you could see some that I didn't see. Like, it's people that looked at something, and I'm like, damn, that is that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that was that. You know what I'm saying? Because I be even, like, when I left from Gunning, I think I only had one book. Last week. Now I got 5 books, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, when I was, you know, it's certain different dimensions. Like, you could be a one-hit wonder. You could be so focused on the one thing. But it's so much dimension, it's so much the spirit to take you so many ways, you don't even know what you're doing. So, and everything is the universe work with you. Like everything that I didn't, and it's crazy because to even say this, what I'm about to say is so crazy, but I'm being honest, like everything I ever asked God for, he gave me. I just ain't had my freedom, you know what I'm saying? But everything else I felt, because it's a mindset. And I done had freedom within my mind. I done had freedom within peace, you know what I'm saying? And I've been bondage and chained up since I was a kid, you know. But, so I be wanting to know from your view of it. When you see it, I be wanting to know. Like, even when I finish the book, I be wanting to hear the feedback. Like, we don't get feedback like we really want. That's what the artists, that's like the pay for me is feedback, you know what I'm saying? Because especially like a book but I learned that people don't read books as much because the patience and the technologies and stripped a lot of patience, so people don't got time to contemplate on the books and don't know they stripping their own contemplation. But I learned how to put it in one painting, say the whole book. One painting to tell the whole story, you know. I had to say it like, you could say write a whole page and trying to explain what you feeling, but people only catch a paragraph or a sentence, if that, you know, and that's more easier to read. That's how they used to say, communicate with the attorneys, don't put everything, just put the little thing, shorten it up. And I'm like, man, okay. So I just learned that with the art world, because people don't pick up the book, so I got to put it in one painting, and I got to give you a solution within the painting, you know. I was telling, I got that one painting. I don't know if you understand it, that I showed it to you before, but it's called Desire is Stronger Than Fear. I think I talked to you about it before.
I don't know.
It's a woman inside of an art gallery, and she got like 5 children, and all her children is going crazy for the painting. The painting is a silverback gorilla, but the silverback gorilla got a pacifier in its mouth. So they desire for the pacifier is more stronger than they fear the gorilla. So that's the type of way I want to open the mind for people to understand, like, these type of locks. And I reverse that same painting in a different way. So I put people inside of the paintings in the gallery and animals inside the gallery and switched it up. Yeah.
And listen, that is, you know, I'll use an example and tell you how much I get your message there. I'm terrified of snakes. And I would never put my hand inside of a box with a snake. But if someone said there's a $10,000 bundle of cash in there, I desire that $10,000 enough that I might consider sticking my hand there to try to grab it. But if there was no money in there, the fear would just win because there's no desire.
Yeah, it's no desire.
So I, totally 100% makes sense. Everyone's different as far as an artist and their perspective or whatever. My thing always was, and the unique thing about having an art show and being there and your art being there is you can have like a Q&A with people and you can interact with people and you can talk about your art. But what you'll never see, And unfortunately, Derek, since your dad denied you to go to the museum in New York, but kudos, dang, Derek, you got to go to New York when you were a kid.
Right.
Awesome. Yeah. What's that like?
I see a fist bump there.
Good on you for your vacations to the Northeast. But the thing is what you'll never see in any type of art museum is you won't see. There's none of the artists are there explaining their painting.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'll never get a talk to. That's the whole. Like if you go to a gallery, the artist it's just art on the wall, and then you have to walk in front of it, and you have to take what you take from it. It's your own interpretation. You get what you get out of it. You don't have the artist there explaining themselves. And I know someone had mentioned, like when we were in prison, about the idea of walking up to a painting at an art gallery with all the new technology, and then you could like hit a button that's next to it, and then it'll be the artist telling the story of the painting. And I think that's an absolutely horrible idea, because the whole point of art is once you create the art, it comes from all that stuff inside of you, and you do all this, and then once you create the work, right, for whatever reason, whatever purpose, whatever's behind it, and as soon as you show one person your artwork, and then everyone else after that, it's no longer yours. It belongs to the world. It belongs to the society. It belongs to all the other human beings to judge it, to look at it and get something from it or not get something from it, which is what makes being an artist the ultimate test of vulnerability. And the thing is I think a lot of people, and I'm gonna take this from a motivational speaker. I'm not gonna quote her exactly because I'll misquote it, but the vulnerability. People think that vulnerability and courage are opposites. They're the exact same thing. So the definition of courage is to show up for life not knowing what to expect, which makes you vulnerable.
Right.
So they're synonymous. So when you're an artist, the vulnerability that Vern shows by putting his art out there and telling his story and putting all the stuff that he puts into his art makes him extremely vulnerable. But what I think that Vern may or may not, and I'm going to guess that he probably doesn't understand this on the level that he should, is how courageous that makes him. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to expose yourself for the admiration and the approval and the validation of strangers.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you're an artist. You're intentional or unintentional, that art is put out there now for the judgment of the world to validate you and your art, whether it's worthy or not, and it's from a group of strangers for the most part. We'll know a small circle of people that know that we show our art to, that look at our art, but for the most part, it's all people we've never met before or people that are strangers or seeing our art for the first time. So the amount of courage that it takes for someone like Vern to do his artwork and put it out there this way. And when I say artwork, I mean the paintings, the drawings, the books, the words, like all those things are all part of that. And that is one of the reasons, the big reasons why I admire Vern so much, is because he possesses an enormous amount of willingness to be vulnerable, which makes him one of the most courageous people I've ever met.
I appreciate that, Brody.
And he didn't pay me to say that, by the way.
Nah, and what you saying though, like when I published my books, my first book and stuff, and my second book, people like, hey man, the spelling, that ain't how that's the grammar. I'm like, nah, leave it like it is, cause them was the mindset and them was the conditions and that was the level of my education at the time that I learned. I learned how to read and write in prison. So I want to leave that authenticity of it in there. If it's your imperfections is perfection, and I want people to know that within themselves. Not just that I found it in myself, but if you can pass it and give it to the people that's being so strategically challenged by the level of perfect and perfection. It's all like you were saying, your mindset and what you feel like that's not the bar of perfection. The bar of perfection is your imperfection, and when you can peel that off and give it, if they selling a banana on the canvas, duct tape to a canvas, so I know I could give you something more realer, if green eggs and ham went crazy in Dr. Seuss, I know I could go more crazy, I'm gonna feed our kids better than that, But I just know from my own personal experience, I wanna, from the journey that I been through and the stuff that I didn't like, the ways that I didn't got on my knees and prayed, and it worked. So I want to get that to the people, and I hope July 21st I can get that to the people. I hope they receive it like I'm giving it. And I got some a secret weapon I'm coming with.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I mean, I think that the one is, it makes sense, right? Because without it's almost like you can't be have faith without being afraid, because like if you're not afraid, you don't need faith, in terms of like the courage and the vulnerability. And one question is like whether we should judge art, because like you said, and I really like the way that you phrase that, Gunny, like it's no longer your art, right? Yeah. Really, what I think it is it's an offering to the world, right? Yeah. And it's up to us to take it up, and you can't force somebody to take it up, and that's really frustrating. Like as a teacher, right? I can't make my students learn anything, I mean, it has to, all I can do is sort of try to create an environment, right, where they, feel comfortable to engage in it, and to offer their perspective and their thoughts. And I try to model that by being sometimes like, honestly, I have no idea what this author is saying right here, I mean, I've read this book 20 times, I still don't know, right? But it's I think that the ability to paint something or to even speak, right? I mean, even language is a form of art. Like you think about metaphor, right? I think about the title of the artwork, right? Who's really in prison, right? That changes the artwork itself. Like that's part of the artwork for me. And it's just, the fact is really, and what I continue to learn because and try to understand, because I still haven't yet, right, is the fact that you too are free in a sense that many people who have never been incarcerated might have no idea what the carceral system in the U.S. is like, aren't free, I mean, and to have I don't know where that comes from. I think everybody's probably got the capacity for it, but especially in a place like a prison, where it's not easy, right? I mean, you're caged in, but it's almost like, if I think about prison as a microcosm of society, we're all caged in. Where, I mean, how many people even really know their neighbors? I mean, really like know who lives next to them, right? So we're caged in. And yeah, here we have two people who have been literally caged in, who are free in the courage that they have, right, to give something to the world. Yeah. And I just hope that people take it up. I'm confident that they will, and I think it will be before both of you pass, because that's why we're doing this show. And that's why, we're like really, I mean, I'm building it up. I was telling Vernon earlier that my wife, Sarah, was with her colleagues at University of Indianapolis, and they were talking about the show. And I had no idea how they, found out about it. Right. So, I mean, I definitely encourage people to come out because you're going to be, if you let yourself sort of just encounter it, you don't have to try to understand it. I can't judge it. I mean, what is this, good art, bad art? You know what I mean? Yeah. I know that there's like the banana on the tape, whatever. I mean,
but it might mean something. Like it might mean something in a different demeanor. It might mean something in a different way. I saw a blank canvas that's framed got sold for $1 million. Yeah. And they like, hold on, this the mate to it. Another blank canvas. Another $1 million.
Yeah. It's a triad now.
Yeah, it's a triad. A triptych. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, I'm like, shit. But it's all about.
if you don't mind, let me add to that. So the thing is that I'm familiar with the banana duct tape thing. It did exactly what it was supposed to do, which was to evoke, like here we are talking about it.
Right.
And no one's going to stop talking about that. And the blank canvas, a lot of this modern art type of stuff, people with the abstract and just like a couple squares of color on a canvas, people will say, well, that's not really art. That's not really art. And there you are talking about it.
Right.
And there it is invoking an emotion, probably of
There
anger,
you go.
of anger in you. And so that artist has accomplished the goal. The indifference is what kills art. And if you have no story, no meaning, no way of trying to evoke emotion with your art, the indifference, again, those are the types of things you see in lobbies of hotels and things like that, right? So the thing is that when it's funny to me and interesting to me when Derek says, I don't know if I'm supposed to judge it or this or anything. Yeah, that's exactly the point. You don't know what you're supposed to do with it, but you're supposed to do something because you can't get away from it. You can't take your eyes off of it. You can't stop thinking about it. These are all successes and wins as an artist. And the thing is that in this society, we're force-fed what we're supposed to accept as art and whose art we should buy or whose art we should talk about, because there's a segment of society and of art that has this pretentious level to it. That's not us. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're doing. Yeah. So the thing is that we're creating. We both create art that comes from deep inside, that has significant meaning to us, and something that we want to convey and share with the world. And there's the freedom that you talked about is the freedom of the pretentiousness. It's, I think it was Max Kellerman, the boxer, boxing analyst, that said, it's hard to wake up in the morning and silk pajamas and go out and do the work. These boxers make millions and millions of dollars to have this big payday, and they get these silk pajamas on, and now they can't wake up and go run, and they can't really train because they've become civilized. They're no longer the savages. How can you be a savage, in silk pajamas? Well, the thing is if you wake up every day in khakis, it's really hard to be pretentious. It's really hard to be superficial and things like that. So there's nothing more humbling than to make everyone dress the same and look the same and fall in line and all these things. And the only way out of that type of situation is through your art. Man, those are genuine pieces of art. Those are not silk pajama pieces of art. It's not a banana taped to a canvas.
But I appreciate that because actually because here we are talking about it, right? It's evoking a response, and it's like I remember. I don't know if this is true or not, but I don't know if this is the right artist, but I think maybe somebody, like an abstract painter, maybe Jackson Pollock, somebody said to him like, my kid could paint this, and he was just like, yeah, well, your kid didn't.
Right. Well, and also let me throw this in there too. I always got to get this out. This is another famous Picasso quote. And I got to make sure I get it right.
Take your time.
But it's basically along the line of, losers or cheaters or whatever, they copy when it comes to art. And he says, but winners still. And so the thing is that what I want people to do with my art is I want them to look at it and there be something in there that they want to take. Right? That they want to steal for themselves from my works of art. And so the thing is that if Vern sees something in my art that helps him convey art, I want him to steal that idea. I don't want him to copy it because then it's not his, but I want him to steal it and then put Vern all over it. And so that's the thing. So the thing is that what we are and what we try to do with our art and what we're trying to convey is we want people to come and take. We want to give and give and give, and we want people to take an emotional gratification, take a intellectual gratification away and go home and not be able to not think about that and who did it and what it means and what they can do to help that person, in particular Vern in this situation, get to a point where he is back to who he needs to be. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, that's what I'm taking from this whole thing. That's the goal here. And art is the biggest bridge that we've ever built. My guy. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's really interesting too, as this is a podcast that is political, and this discussion is political. And so I'm thinking about how the good artist steals, and you want people to steal from your art. The interesting thing to me is that, and what makes it that hit home, is that I can steal from it, but it doesn't deprive anybody else of the ability to steal from it too, right? Like,
absolutely.
If I take your microphone from you right now, you can't have it.
Correct.
Right? But if I steal like something in your art, everybody else can still steal it.
Correct.
It's like a gift that's impossible to deplete.
Right. And the thing is that, I think a lot of artists are afraid that they put their artwork out there like that someone's going to steal their style or steal their concepts or steal their composition, right? And, like our guy Bob Marley said, them knew it, but them can't do it. No one will ever be Bob Marley and be able to do his art the way he did.
Yeah.
But everyone that's come along, the Jimmy Cliffs and all these guys and different people, even modern day people that have added that, to the reggaeton and stuff like that kind of art or whatever, it all stems from them trying to steal that swag and that style and that message. No one was more powerful in their messaging than Bob Marley. And you know what I mean? So that's like, when I look at Vern, I look at him that way, like he's a powerful messenger. And the thing is that he can put all of his stuff out there and people can steal whatever they want from it, but they'll never be him and they'll never do it like him. There'll never be another Vern. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
There'll never be another phone call thing.
Yeah, we're going to get that one right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's in a sense, it's a real gift to be here with the two of you. It was a real. I remember I said this last time, but when you two reconnected, Vern called me later that day and was like, "You'll never believe what happened." In a million years.
Right.
And then you were here. I don't know, a week later. Right. We were building together.
Right.
And these are the bridge that you two built. It's not just for you. It's
correct.
Just like your artwork, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And this just popped into my head. I need to say this too. I think there's a lot of judgment around the type of situation that Vern and myself found ourselves in, right? And I will say this unequivocally. I know that there are people out there that might look at Vern and his situation and hear his story and think that he's dangerous, that he's bad. No one's ever made me feel safer at the most vulnerable time of my life than Vern. That's the one thing about Vern, man. Like, Vern makes me feel safe. Does that sound like a dangerous guy? You know what I mean? Like, he made me feel safe. Mm-hmm. He didn't tell me I'm going to keep you safe. Mm-hmm. He didn't say you're safe with me. He didn't say it out loud. He was just himself, and that made me feel safe. How many monsters make you feel safe? Mm-hmm. He's not a monster. He's not a bad guy. He's the antithesis of those things. Mm-hmm. So again, bro, thank you. Thank you my mother thanks you for keeping me safe, bro. Just by being you. Just by being you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
And that's not easy. I mean, at least as far, from my time with Vernon, man. I mean, it is. He is himself, and that takes a lot because there's so many forces working against him, and that's what's so hard for me to. And I think if that makes sense to you, then you're insane, right? Because why on earth would anybody want to put an obstacle of any kind in this path?
Right.
Why would anybody want to prevent this art and this human being you know, from like expanding our capacity to act in the world, because that's what you know, Vernon has done for me. And I know every single person, like I'm speaking for a lot of people that I know,
Right.
you know, to various levels. I mean, just the you know, so my wife Sarah Full is she teaches, you know, digital photography at the Indy, University of Indianapolis, and we met in graduate school. And you know, honestly,
And she took you to New York to the art museum.
she did actually, and
I knew it.
That's how I got, you know,
She helped you with your childhood trauma.
I quote
She's a
unquote got
keeper.
interested in art basically because I wanted to, you know, I wanted to, you know, pursue a relationship with her. And then she started teaching me so much about it. And just like, so she's, you know, she studied it, she's taught art history and blah, 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 right? But she and Vernon as artists, there's no distinction between the two of them. Like when they talk to each other about art, when they, you know, when they, you know, view each other's art, you wouldn't be able to tell, you know, if you had blinders on, if you, you know, if you couldn't, if their voices were distorted, there'd be no, it's just like, it's a revelation of like the commonness that's at the heart of basically all of us, you know?
I can tell you why that is. Real artists don't believe in a hierarchy, and they don't climb ladders, and they don't rate people. This person's better than that person. Real artists sit at a round table, and it constantly gets bigger because if you're a real artist, there's always a seat for you there. It's a round table. It's not hierarchy. It's not who's a better artist or who takes better photos or who's more realistic or anything like that. And real artists understand that, and so that's why that relationship and that encounter exists that way. And it's crazy that you picked up on that, because that's validation that's how it is with real artists. So, you know, I'm actually against art contests. I think art contests are silly, because the thing is that I don't consider myself a better artist than anyone. I consider myself also an artist. So I sit at a round table. I think Vern would agree. He sits at a round table as well. To be honest with you, I can't do the type of artwork that Vern does. The amount of emotion and the amount of elements and the composition, everything. Like, if I tried to copy one of his paintings, I could not do it. That's how different our styles are, but that's how authentic what he does is, right? So if I put a painting of mine next to a painting of Vern's and we tell people to vote on it or judge it,
what good is that?
If I win, does that make me the better artist? Doesn't it depend on what group of people are voting? You know what I mean? Like, there's no, it's kind of a, it's a, I don't know the word I'm searching for here. You're gonna have to have your wife come in sometime, and
maybe it's a measurable
with a thesaurus or something, like, you know what I mean? But it's not a competition like that with real artists. The thing is that when I was telling Vern earlier, when I look at his art, it reminds me of when I was young. There's a piece of when I was younger that for some reason connects to that art that makes me interested in it. And then I just travel all around it with my eyes, which is, you know, yeah, that it's just the way that you travel around the picture, the composition, and here's the thing. Vern is a brute artist. I'm a brute artist. That means self-taught, right? We don't have any formal education. I never went to college. I didn't do art in high school. My 8th grade art teacher turned me off to art. She was not supportive. She wanted all these rules and restrictions, so I just stopped, and my interest of art faded, right? So I don't have any formal education with art, but I sought out art history. I sought out color theory. And I know how to do what I do now because I educated myself. And that's exactly what Vern did.
You know why Ernie Barnes, you know Ernie Barnes?
Tell me about Ernie Barnes.
Ernie Barnes was a football player. And he was like one of the number one draft picks in football.
Okay.
And this college football, on paper, he do it all on the football field. So they realized that Ernie Barnes was black. And And they was like, no, we not about to put him on our team.
Right.
On our football team. This in the NFL.
Right.
Like, yeah, we're not about to put him on our team. So he went to doing art. And that's the artist of Good Times, the famous Good Times painting.
He's the one that did the murals for that.
He the one that,
Okay.
if you thought JJ was painting, that was really all Ernie Barnes.
Well, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah,
I knew that
yeah.
the real artist was not the character.
Yeah.
But like I was telling Vern, like those murals, you know, on Good Times.
No, I don't.
But he
You don't?
Yeah, he get Ernie Barnes.
See ya.
I'm so not shocked at that answer, Derek. I don't want to tell you why, but I'm not shocked. But the thing, I think Derek.
I can take it, man. Come on.
Yeah, listen, man. If you didn't watch Good Times and you didn't see those murals,
He watched Good
That
Times.
Good Times.
no wonder
That
you were
Good
going to
Times.
New
He
York
said
as
he
a
had-
kid.
He
You know what I mean?
He had Good Times. He didn't watch Good Times.
I bet he did. I bet he did.
With JJ, man.
So the
Yeah,
thing
right.
is, those murals drew me in as a kid. Drew me in, and I was like, man, I wish I could do that. I want to be that person, you know. And this is all black people in the murals.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am, this young white kid, lived in the inner city in Indianapolis, and this is the power of art, right? Nothing up to that point had spoke to me as much as that. When I saw that, I was like, man, I want to be that so bad. I want to do that so bad. And it's a mural of all black people that I probably shouldn't have identified with, but because it's art, I did. And I did. At that time, I wasn't understanding why I did. But that same connection, when I see Vern's stuff, I feel what that kid felt when I was a kid, and I felt that. I get that same feeling and excitement and connection and joy and all these emotions from Vern's art. That's how I know how authentic and great he is as an artist, because like it stirs up all that inside of me. And here's the thing, Derek, I'm guessing you love Vern's art, but you can't possibly love it because of the Good Times murals, because you ain't seen them. So same art, but you love it for a different reason than I do. And guess what? You get to do that.
Yeah.
That's your right to do that. And the thing is that how powerful does that make Vern? That I have a connection to it for one reason, you have a connection to it for another reason, but we both connect to it.
Yeah.
We both enjoy it. You
It's
know
a
what I mean?
privilege.
It's a privilege.
It shouldn't be. It should be a right.
Well,
You know?
it
gas
should
him,
be, but
I still gas. I was buying his art, Gunning art, while I was in prison. Like,
Yeah.
hey man, I wasn't painting nothing yet. I was doing it. My first paint I done. I don't know if you remember. I think I wanted to show you. I never had a chance to show you.
oh, okay,
The first paint I done was Love at First Sight.
okay.
Yeah, I did a paint called Love at First Sight.
Well, I gotta see it now.
Yeah, you got it?
Yeah. You heard of Florence Nightingale?
Yeah.
All right. You heard
yeah,
of Florence?
yeah.
You heard of Florence Nightingale syndrome?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
You heard
Yeah,
of
I can't define it, but yeah. I
Yeah,
have.
Okay, well-
I've heard of it. Yep.
Florence Nightingale syndrome was like the first time she was a soldier or whatever. I mean, she was a nurse and helping the soldiers and healing them. Long story short, everybody that she healed, they fell in love with her.
Okay.
So the thing is, the doctor's like, well, why is this happening? You know, is it something we doing? Is she doing something to these soldiers or something? But over 1,000 people really fell in love with her, like head over heel. So they figured it out, and they had a camera. What it was is the time of their pain and suffering. She was the person that pulled them out of their pain and suffering at the sight when they came out of it. It was love at first sight. So they named it the Florence Nightingale syndrome. So that's why it's Florence Nightingale syndrome. But the paint that I done, it was like myself painting the paint of how I've done, you know. And I named it Florence Nightingale Love at First Sight.
Maybe
So-
this is a way of Vern saying that he has Florence Nightingale syndrome with me.
Man, it's like,
All right.
he crazy.
That might be a signal. It's time to wrap it up. But I do want to go check that out.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is oftentimes too. I'll just say this: I'll be on the phone with Vern or something, but I'd be like, and he'll be explaining something to me, and I'll be like, you know what I'm saying? I'll be like, honestly, now I say it, I'll be like, honestly, I don't, but I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm working on something, and you could see yourself. It's like you're in it, but you know what I'm saying? I'm like, no, I don't. but I will.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a funny thing. Like, so if you had a room full of people out here and you had 30 people in that room and you said, pick the 2 people in here that you think have, you know, some sort of really deep, special, shared connection through whatever, you probably wouldn't pair Vern and I together. Mm. But the funny thing is that, and I don't know if this happens to you or not, Vern, but when I see Vern, like when Vern looks at me and I look at Vern, I can tell that like we have looked at the same rock. You know what I mean? Like we've put our eyes on the same thing before. And then was our experience, you know, from being incarcerated. Yeah. So I can tell that he and I have both looked at the same rock before. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is that like just getting to know you, Derek, you know what I mean? Like I'm glad to say that like I don't feel that way with you. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that you haven't had to go through some of the things that we've had to go through. And the thing is that I'm also deeply humbled by the fact that you're willing to talk about it with us and to put it out there and to learn from it. And your lack of judgment over that type of stuff and your empathy and willingness to help in these situations is definitely, you know.
But that's how what you're saying.
You know,
like
great, it's a great thing. I appreciate it. You know,
like I with Rachel Simon. You know, mm-hmm. When I met her, like the first time, it's just like we got to talking and just I'm talking and tears flowing out my eyes and like she was there. You know what I mean? Like she was like real supportive. Like don't worry about it. Like things gonna be out. Like she. I remember her words like they trying to break you. You know what I mean? And that would motivate me and spark me to like. Don't break, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it takes somebody that, and I didn't know even her status and who she is and in the community and how she give back and really as genuine people, you know what I mean? But it's like you were saying, like in a person's eyes, you could feel like somebody saw something that you done seen or witnessed something that you can empathize, you know? Even like when we first met and you followed me, like came out and like, hey, bro, I'm like, is you an attorney? He's like, no, I do the legwork, bro. Yeah. I was like, I got you, bro. Yeah, and we locked in, you know. I was just like, I got to trust somebody, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm carrying this cross, man, by myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm feeling like even when you came in my life, you made it easier for me, you know what I mean? Like you did the things what I've been stopped to do. Everything that they, even an email, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't even check my own email. So that give me a sense that, and then somebody I could trust, you know? Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question, Derek. Why do you do this?
He was doing this in Japan without nobody understanding the sign he was protesting doing, man.
Yeah, it's no,
I mean. Yeah. Here's the thing. Let me be more specific.
Yeah.
Why do you feel compelled to help Vern?
Mm-hmm. I think one, there's definitely a sense of anger and outrage. And I think anybody who hears a story, just like they hear yours, Gunning, is, you know, it should be outraged. And the best way to deal with that is to make it right. And second, it's not as if we can help every single person that comes to the doors of the Indianapolis Liberation Center, although we would like to. But then we get caught. We would be able to do so little because we have so few resources here, right? And we're not a charity. We exist to create a world where charity doesn't even enter the realm of possibility because everybody has what they need. And so with Vernon, it's never been about just Vernon. And in fact, it's one of the things he likes to talk about the least, right? He's always talking about other people. And so when we're talking about, you know, liberating Vernon, we're talking about liberating all the Vernons that are out there in the world. And there's so many, especially in this country, of course. And all of my experiences and our experiences with Vernon have just reaffirmed that. And that's on sort of a larger level, and on a personal level, I benefited so much from, and I consider it a great honor and privilege to be a friend of his. And I think that he helps me just as much as I help him. And it's really a relationship of mutual respect. And, sometimes he takes the lead, sometimes I take the lead, and he has no problem, telling me when to hold off, hey, take that back. And I have no problem now, being like, hey, I think that that's a wrong play, And so we listen to each other, we build off of each other. And it's just, I remember Vernon saying, support the Liberation Center because everybody needs to be liberated. We need more people liberated. And that's really what it's about. And so there's the anger, but there's also the love. There's the anger at the situation and the system, but there's also the love for the people. And that's something that I've learned from Vernon, and I'm learning from you, Gunny, too. But also, I will say that it doesn't just come from me. It comes from my community, and it's like I don't do anything, If it wasn't for like the countless people that are unseen, that we can't see right here, right now in this room, both past and present, both like back at home, on the East Coast and here and everywhere,
Right.
That I wouldn't be me, because I think when it comes down to it, if I could speak in somewhat artistic language, right?
This ought to be good, Vern. You ready for this?
Get ready to judge.
Go ahead,
Judge
Derek.
it. Judge it.
Go ahead, Derek.
I got you, man.
But it's not just that I am I'm me, and then I come into contact with you, and then we have a relationship, right? It's that like without you, there is no me. Like without you, there is no I. And so happens most often, like when we think about when we grieve somebody, because when we lose somebody that we love, we don't lose them and our relationships with them, we lose a part of ourselves. Like we're never the same again because we are our relations to others.
Right.
Basically. And so that's who I am, is my relations to others. So I'm not doing this, right?
Right.
Like we're doing this.
Right.
We're doing this.
The reward is in the journey.
Yeah. And the challenges and honestly, like it's hard. But they call it the struggle for a reason, right? Not because it's easy. Those who have historically made change have not done so out of the desire to get wealthy. And in fact, they've been normal, everyday, working class and oppressed people that have made the most significant changes.
Right. So real quick, if I can, what you just said there is very important. So you are catching Vern and me at the quote end of our story, right? So the reason that you feel the way that you feel, because this is a very normal thing, right, for people. So you're just now hearing my story, right? So it's going to make you mad because it's an injustice, right? But 10 years ago, I heard it for the first time, and I've had 10 years to self-reflect, to understand, to move on, to deal with, to process, to do all these things. So it took me a decade to get here and be the person I am today and be able to handle things the way I handle things, right? But if I introduce you to my story, you start where I was 10 years ago, today. So the thing is that every time I tell someone the story, they get upset, they get angry, they can't believe that I could be nice to anybody or that I could have a positive attitude or anything. But Vern and I have already went through all those emotions. We've already done, and what we've got to do that most people like you, Derek, don't get to do, and I just mean like free people, right? Yeah. Is when you take away the mortgage and the car payment and the kids and the wife and the house, you take away all these things and you strip us down to just bare bones, right? All we have really is to sit and self-reflect. No one in regular everyday society has time to do that. So we sit and think all day long. We're constantly thinking and processing. And what if this? And if I'd have done that? And had I said this? And am I really mad about that? Should I be mad about that? Or should I just try to understand? Like we've already worked our way and it's taken years to do it, right? But when you very first hear the story, you have to start at square one and we're already on square 51. You know what I mean? So I understand. So what you said is exactly how most people feel and most people react. And they're just like if you hear Vern's story, you would think that he could be the most irritating person, like upset with everybody, hate the world, walking around saying, oh, life's so unfair and I got the short end of the stick. And here's the thing, he did. And everybody would understand that. But then when they leave him, they would say, yeah, man, I get it, man, but I don't want to be around that guy. But that's not how Vern conducts himself. Vern wants his injustice righted, but he's not playing the victim here. He's a guy that got caught in this system in the wrong way. He's trying to make the right. And that's it. That's the long and the short of it, right? So that's how we now have the demeanor that we have, and that we have kindness and forgiveness in our heart, and just want to carry on with positivity. But we have our people, Vern's mom, I'm sure, is still very angry at what they did to her son, right? And all these people are angry and upset about the fact that the injustice that took place and robbed everybody of all the things that you've mentioned. But we're already a mile down the road on that. So that's why, look, when people talk about us behind our back, this is what I would hope that they say. And I've said this before to other people. Not like, oh, like he's bitter and he's upset and all this other thing, and I understand because of everything that he went through. But what they're gonna say about Vern and what they're gonna say about me, and I've heard it before, but this is what people will say when they leave our presence. Man, despite the fact that he's been through this and that this happened and everything like that, can you believe what a nice person he is, how positive he is, how much he wants to just spread good vibes and love and be a productive person and be a member of society and just do wonderful things? That's how I want people to talk about me behind my back, that I'm an inspiration. And how could I possibly be strong enough, right, to be this person today when so many horrible things have been done to me unjustly? And so that's why people that haven't, been through this journey and gotten to the point where we got feel the way that we feel, because when they first hear the story, you know you're telling the truth when you tell a story to someone and they're immediately mad. They're immediately like, man, I can't believe that happened to you, man. That's really bad. That's not right. That's wrong. That shouldn't have happened. That's how we felt day one. So you're to validate how you feel and what you said, that's exactly right. But I think we both have gotten to a point where we realize that we want people to see our artwork, and we want them to know that that's who we are, that we can create out of all this bad stuff. We're able to create these beautiful images, these wonderful pieces of art, these amazing things that people covet and would want to own and cherish and stare at and look at and contemplate and feel and all these things. How did someone who has been through so much, did they muster the strength and the audacity to create something so amazing? And if you know anything about art history, which I think your girl probably does, right? She'll tell you that most of the great arts, the masters, had very, very tragic things happen, losing family members, lots of sicknesses and illness. Their lives were stricken with all these adversities and these horrible monstrosities and things that happened to them. And what did they do? They turned their self to art. They dealt with it through art, and they conveyed their message and their feelings and everything through art, and created these amazing, beautiful pieces of art that all of us know now, these iconic, beautiful pieces. Almost all of them were created out of these type of situations. And so that's what makes us, who we are, and what we do makes it what it is. There's no room, I don't want to speak for Vern, and Vern, you can tell me if you feel this. There's no room in my heart for anger anymore or resentment. There's definitely no room for revenge or anything like that. I want the ship righted. I want the ship to be righted and turned around and put on course where it was going in the first place. That's all I want. There's no animosity. There's none of that. And the thing is that I think what happens and could happen with people like me and Vern is what may come across as maybe aggressive behavior when talking about this in our tone or demeanor or whatever is often mistaken. It's just passion. It's passion because we know we're right about what we're saying we know the truth, and the only thing that either one of us are looking for is for someone to say, I hear you, I understand you, and I believe you. That's the most important thing to me, is that someone says, I heard your story and I understand and I believe you. There's no amount of money in the world that I could put a price on that. That's what I want. And I don't want to speak for Vern, but I'm guessing that he probably has similar thoughts on that.
That's like one of the key things, though, what you said was really important. Just like the self-reflection. Like, I done been in everything. Like, I was in the prison before the cameras, before the 90s, you know what I mean? In the 90s, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I had to wear other prisoners' underwear, in RDC. They cut your hair off your head, take all your hair off you. That's why I told them, cut my eyebrows too, you know what I mean? Just covered myself up with principles and morals, you know what I mean? That's the only thing that really mean the most to you. So what you have, like, when you came to prison, even the commissary prices was like the soups and stuff, it was probably high, but not so high. Like, I was part of the movement of boycotting commissary and, going on hunger strikes and all that type of stuff. So when you was like, why he got that type of respect? Because I stood up when people were sitting down. I still stood up. Like, even when they do shakedowns, and I was going to the hole because I wasn't bending over, spread my ass cheeks and letting you see inside my ass. I was keeping my manhood and taking it to the hole with me, you know what I mean? So, yeah, those type of things that made sure I came out of prison, like, all the way, like, 10 toes, you know what I mean?
Again, that's why I have the level of respect that I have for Vern. And I think that obviously other people knew that and saw that. And, it's part of the problem with our system is the way that they try to break you down. And people always say, so people say to me all the time, I would have never thought you were in prison unless you told me. You know what I mean? And for Vern to have spent the time that he spent in prison and to be the man that he is today, being in prison, I can tell you this. I don't know how he did it. I don't. I was sure I couldn't make it the time that I had. I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm not going to be able to do it. And, Vern's in there 5 times as long as I was. And there's no reason that I can think of that would allow me to believe that it would be possible for someone to sit here today and be the man that Vern is based on what I know that he went through. And we shared a common experience, but we didn't share his whole experience. You know what I mean? So the thing is that I think it's even more of a testament that obviously this is who he is, and what he was accused of is not. It doesn't line up. It doesn't line up in any sense of the word. It doesn't line up in any scenario. There's not a case that can be made for that to be true. Someone that has Vern's demeanor, that has Vern's character, that speaks the way that he speaks, that stands for what he stands for, and is able to carry himself the way that he cares about other people, when he should be the type of person that doesn't care about nobody because of what he had to go through. He should just be like, man, forget everybody because of what I had to go through. I think that somebody that was guilty probably would feel that way. I never doubted for a moment when I met Vern that he was innocent, because I didn't want to, right? I just didn't want to doubt it. And then the more I got to know him, I was just like, I don't doubt it now because I know it's not true. I didn't want to believe it. We meet people every day in prison. We meet people, and I think we forget when we first meet them that they're there for a reason. And then until we find out like what that reason is, and sometimes you don't ever find out, you know what I mean? Because like you said, you're not going around asking everybody, right? And the thing is that I knew, man, like this is the craziest thing in the world to say. But when I looked at Vern, man, it was like I was looking in a mirror. And I just knew that we were the same in a certain aspect. We were identical, the same in that environment. We had that piece. And it's funny because you see us in person, like you'd be like, you guys thought you were looking in a mirror? You know what I mean? But it really was for that. It was that for me. And it was a very unlikely, thing. But listen, man, Vern's who he says he is. It's the bottom line. He is who he says he is. And the thing is that I'll circle back to this. If you get the opportunity to come out to the show, please do, because you'll want to meet him. You'll want to experience what it's like to be in his presence. Vern is a very humble person. He's very soft-spoken. He's a very intelligent person. He's a very talented person. And to miss the opportunity to be around someone like that would be a shame. So if you're able to come out, I would highly encourage that. And take the time to come up and say hi to him. Make sure you try to say hi to him or try to meet him. And I promise if you do, it'll change the way you feel about a lot of things in life, and especially about his situation and what he's been accused of.
I agree. And this is an example of another reason why I do this. It's because I learn from it. And so you teach me about how it is that you are, your immediate reaction is an anger. The other reason is love, because of how my world has expanded, right? Just by the encounters with the works of art, with the ideas, because I do ultimately get to hear, what inspired it, what certain things do represent for him or for you. And that's the reason why we're doing this show. And I'm going to put it harder. I'm going to say you need to be there July 21st. You need to be there, and you need to be there as much as you can between July 21st and August 2nd, because that's going to be a real privilege, right? But it's also it's art for exoneration, because this man everything he does it for the world. They try to stop him, but he finds a way to do it, and we owe it to him.
Right. Vern, could you imagine, man, us sitting and talking in F Dorm about the art show we were going to have at a gallery in downtown Indy at some point? You know what I mean? Can you imagine it's crazy. And, the thing is, Derek, let me tell you this. So now I've been around you a couple of times. This is the connection, one of the connections I have now with you, because you and I have this connection of, and I talked to Vern a little bit about this on the way here. The thing is, I'm a 53-year-old white guy, right? And I'm not sure how old you are, Derek.
Not 53.
Okay, I thought you might be younger than me. But here's the thing. The thing is that the truth of the matter is that you and I are gonna be all right. You know what I mean? You and I could just do whatever we needed to do. We're gonna be all right in life. It's gonna work out for us one way or the other. But to step off of that platform of privilege and say, "Nah, I'm gonna get down here and help and bring everyone up to that level," right? You don't have to do this, right? I don't have to. Like I told Vern, I'm like, there's certain things that they've told me that, like, if I just do this or that, I'll be cool. And then what am I supposed to, how can I look Vern in the eyes and be like, yeah, man, I just took the easy way out because it was offered to me to just do this and I'll be cool. I'm not going to do that because it doesn't help Vern. It doesn't help other people that are struggling and everything like that. So I understand a little bit more about why this is something that you're compelled to do, and understanding the connection that both you and I have, that we don't really have to. So it makes it all the more better that we do. You know what I mean? And so I'm thankful for you for that. And it will inspire people like me and other people like us to get involved and help do things and get things done, which ultimately that's what we need to do, is get as many people involved as possible to get change and bring about change and get things done. And it's going to take everybody, but it's definitely going to take some influential people. And I appreciate you being one of those people.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's my honor to have you on this show. It's our honor.
You're welcome.
PSL to liberate. It's a privilege, to have your artwork. It's been hanging at the center for about a month now, and it's been referenced multiple times in conversations outside of the center.
Awesome.
And it really is. And the thing is, people don't understand is that a rising tide lifts all boats.
Right.
Yeah. It's not a zero-sum game.
Right.
It's not a zero-sum game. And we all have a world to win. If like the mayor didn't show up to work for like a month, would you really know the difference,
Probably not.
If the janitors didn't show up to work for a day, you would know the difference.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like those are the people who really we are the people who make the world run. We should really run the world.
Yeah.
And so that's the larger vision, but that's not disconnected from the everyday relationships, Right. That's why we have this podcast, Naptown People's Radio. It's the People's Radio because we cover the issues facing our people, but from the people's perspective. We talk about prisons from the prisoner's perspective, the formerly incarcerated.
I do want to give a shout out, man, to Rachel Simons, Jeff, Sam Square Pie, and so many other people, everybody, the community, the supporters, the show love.
The District Theater.
District Theater, yeah. Pauline, everybody. It's so many people, man. The whole Mass Ave Strip, everybody. Carmel, Buffalo's. I want to, everybody, I send my love to everybody, man. And all the artists that participate in this, to express they self and how they connection with me through art, just to connect it with the world. It make it better from different lenses and different senses that everybody see it at a different angle. I appreciate all the artists ahead of time for participating. And we about to turn it up on the 21st.
Well, that's what's up. Yeah, let's leave it there. This has been a special episode of Naptown People's Radio featuring Matthew Gunning and Vernon T. Bateman, two artists whose brilliant works you can encounter between now and August 2nd at Gallery 42 as part of Art for Exoneration, the Vernon T. Bateman Experience. And you can get your tickets, which are only $25, more, of course, if you can donate to the cause, at vernonsversions.art, where you can also see a list of all the events that comprise that experience. And we also encourage you to get involved, become a part of, and learn about the Coalition to Free Vernon T. Bateman, which is a member organization of the Indianapolis Liberation Center. You can check them out at freevernon.org, and please sign your name to the petition because every signature counts. This is going to be the summer that we liberate Vernon and that we continue the struggle to liberate all of our people trapped behind enemy lines, the thing that we call the racist, capitalist, mass incarceration system in the United States. So if you found today's discussion useful, please pass it on, leave a comment, and listen for our next episode to drop. The road ahead is long, but we walk it together. Study with your comrades, build with your community, and always remember, action without theory is chaos, but theory without action is paralysis. And I'm your host, Derek Ford. Absent my co-host, who we dearly miss, Danny Abdullah. Stay dangerous, stay disciplined, and stay in the struggle.
We trying to create a movement. We got a chance to do something in Indiana that brothers like myself been talking about for the last 40 years. When I first became political and we was organized behind the walls in the 80s and 90s, some of the stuff that we doing now with the different programs and the different institutions that we have and things like the Indy Center is things that we used to talk about and dream about doing. And now we doing them. See what I'm saying? We doing it. And we got to keep that momentum going. And it's also generation. So as the next generation come up, you know what I'm saying? It's on y'all to take it to the next level and take it to the next stage.
Salute. Shop support.